So for the last 3 years, we've been very much working with customers in the preclinical area. We originally started in the discovery area and very much wanted to expand the capabilities, thinking about alternative ways for informatics to support translational approaches to medicine. So we had the opportunity to work with one of our big pharmaceutical companies to look at their preclinical, and we've been focusing very much on that area for the last 3 years now. The ability to extract information and value from preclinical data we see as actually improving quite vastly over the last year or so, for a couple of reasons. One is the ability or the availability of flexible and usable analytics tools has increased quite a lot, and we'll be looking at some examples of that as we go through the presentation today. A key aspect of that is them not requiring a vast amount of IT overhead in order to support scientific usage. But the other piece, and especially in the preclinical area where it's really emerging, is the idea of data standards and the imposition of data standards, which, as Stuart mentioned, can sometimes appear like as a burden. But if those data standards are good and correct, then they can really work for us in terms of looking at the analytics. So let's dive in a little deeper. So, I think this symposium is entitled Unlocking the Strategic Value of Preclinical Data. And what does that mean? That really means being able to extract the full value of the data that comes from your preclinical studies. And to my mind, that means applying human brains to it and in turn making it accessible to the scientist. There are a whole variety of workflows which exist today, which are frequently very inefficient, time-consuming, labor-intensive, and usually all of those things together. And then some things that you might want to do with your data, which are just practically impossible today. So, in concept, this is kind of very simple, right? You just want to, as a scientist, get to your data and being able to answer scientific questions. And really the goal here is to look at and enhance the safety profile of compounds. So if we just look at a kind of very basic workflow, we might have a study being conducted, be it by a CRO. They're going to transfer data to you once in a while, and you want to get a quick view of that data so you can quickly understand how the trial's going, whether the procedures are being followed, what's happening to the animals, and are any adjustments required to it. And getting to that data in a timely manner means you can make much more tactical and cost-effective decisions as you go along. Reasonably straightforward if you're doing the work in-house, because your scientists are generally much closer to the whole study and the data. But if it's being done by a CRO, this gets a little more complex. So either case, what you want to do is get to that data very quickly, very easily, not only for monitoring the existing study, but so you can start planning the next one in parallel based on the intermediate results that you're seeing. But if we move on beyond the basics, the idea of being able to search and analyze data across multiple studies really can answer a whole variety of different scientific questions. You want to improve your understanding of pharmacodynamics, toxicity. You want to try and use past results to analyze design, the potential designs of new studies. You want to look at cross-species safety analysis and understand how you might extrapolate to man. And one key element that we'll actually look at today is response to FDA questions. If you're going through a drug review process, then it is likely that you have data submitted to the FDA about which you'll be asked questions. Answering any of these scientific questions essentially means that you need to think about looking at and analyzing data across different chemical studies. That means generating the right kind of data set and the right data visualizations to understand this. So all of these things, whether it be a kind of fairly standard workflow of monitoring a study or a much more esoteric, in-depth scientific question for your data, it really requires you to get access to that data very quickly. This is not always that easy because of where the data might reside today. And there's a couple of places. So many organizations, if you've done your internal studies, you almost certainly have got some kind of data capture system in STEM, Zybion, or the like. And those systems are extremely good at capturing data and generating reports, but maybe not so good in terms of letting you analyze and understand that data and search for it either across or within studies in ways that aren't already built into the software. And the validation of those systems essentially keeps that data somewhat locked up, and again, very difficult to analyze.